Good morning, everyone. We're continuing here in the words of the Horowitz in the Sefer HaMitzvos. And we have a slew of mitzvahs that are all interrelated to each other coming up. Today is mitzvahs leisa, say the negative commandment, Samech Zayin, number 67, Aladayin shalalahates mishpat chaytem ibnei rishay. A judge is not allowed to pervert the justice for a chaytem, for a sinner, because he is a rasha, because of his wickedness. Which means that just because the guy is known as a rasha does not mean that you're allowed to condemn him automatically. Shenema, like it says, Leisate mishpat evyaincha birivai. It says, do not pervert the judgment of the poor in his suit. What does that mean? Uperish evyaincha mishu evyam b'mitzvah. Someone that is impoverished in mitzvahs. Someone who is a rasha. That means that they don't have mitzvahs. They do a lot of averas. They don't do a lot of mitzvahs. So you might think that it's simple that when they stand in front of you in a court of law and they're being accused of doing something wrong, must be that they did it because they're a rasha. You're not allowed to say that, says the Torah, v'noeg b'chomakim v'chozman, something that we keep everywhere all the time, b'schar v'nekevos, for men and for women. Next mitzvah, Samechei, number 68. Mitzvahs loisa say aladayin shalalahata is mishpat ger v'yasam. So too a judge cannot pervert the justice for a ger, for a convert, v'yasam, or for a orphan. You might have extra rachmanis, extra mercy on them. Why? Because you think about their background and where they're coming from, and therefore you want to show extra compassion, and you also won't judge the case honestly because you overlook perhaps the misjustice or the wrong they did. Shenema, like it says, Leisate mishpat ger yasam, says you cannot pervert the judgment of a convert or a orphan. And if you transgress this and you tilted the judgment favorably in their direction, although they did not deserve it, you transgress two negative prohibitions. One is because you did an oval, you did a injustice in judgment, and one of them is because of this, you cannot pervert the justice of a convert or a yasam. Now this is a very important idea over here, because since we know the Torah wants us to be compassionate, wants us to have mercy, wants to do chesed with others, you might think that it's no holds barred. So whoever can benefit from my compassion and my mercy, they should receive it. Says the Torah, that's all good and fine, as long as it's justified for what you're doing. However, says the Torah, if in fact you're going to end up doing something that's going to be a perversion of justice for the sake of mercy and compassion, that's sheker, that's falsehood. A person is not allowed to do that. Number 69, mitzvahs loisa seish, the last says avol b'mishpat. And this negative commandment that a person should not do any injustice when it comes to rendering judgment. Shenema, like it says, leisasu avol b'mishpat. Do not do injustice in judgment. Peirush shelo l'zakei says achayev. What does that mean? It means you cannot find the guilty person innocent, v'lo l'chayev es hazakai, nor can you find the innocent person guilty. That's perversion. U'bichlal zeh shelo lanes es hadin acha shenizbar l'dayin echadin. So too, you cannot delay the handing down of the verdict once that the judge knows already what his decision is. Why? Instead, he just keeps lengthening on this case in order to cause distress to one of the litigants that are there. If that's his kavanah, that's his intention, this is all prohibited. That's included in the idea of a perversion of justice, which a person is not allowed to do. If you're the judge and you came to your conclusion and you have unequivocal evidence that you know who is guilty and who is innocent, then you make the judgment immediately and you do not delay to cause any added pain or distress to the other person. And finally, he writes over here, Mrs. Leisa Seishalahader Pnei Gadol Bedin. This is the 70th negative commandment. You're not allowed to show honor to an eminent man in the court of judgment. Shenema, like it says, V'leiseder Pnei Gadol. Do not show favor to a mighty person, Perush. If two people come before you, one of them is very prominent and the one of them is very slight in his stature, he's not a prominent person in the community, you can't give extra honor to the mighty, prominent person. You can't even show him you can't treat him cordially or show him a shining countenance in the face of the other one. You can't ask, hey, how you doing there, Rabbi Yid? I hear such a chashuv person. How are you? What's going on? You can't do that. That's showing favoritism. A judge is not allowed to show favoritism. He has to be emes la'amito. He has to be as honest and as pure and as righteous in his judgment as possible. And therefore, when people walk into the Beis Din, into the court, they walk in equals. Only after as the Mishnah tells us, only after the judgment is handed down can we say that one is zakai, one has proven himself to be redeemable, one has proven himself to be innocent, and the other one is guilty. These halachas are kept everywhere all the time. How careful we must be, those that are in the position of judging, to make sure that their judgments are done according to the emes, to the truth. All the best.